Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is just gone 19 after 9 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of News and Views right here on Salam Media with me, Julie Ali. Next, we are going to be talking with a project lead at Youth Capital, a campaign advocating for youth-centered and evidence-based solutions to youth unemployment. And that, of course, is you, Kristal Duncan-Williams. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie.
Okay, nice to have you here. We are talking about a rather serious matter, worrying indeed, very especially for your organization, because you are truly vested in the future of our youth in the country. We understand that the quarterly labor force survey released by Stats SA for the fourth quarter, pardon, is it quarter, isn't it supposed to be the first quarter of 2023?
No, there's a delay. So they'd collect the stats at the end of last year and then they release the report in the following quarter.
It's the fourth quarter of 2022.
Correct.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right. I've got 2023 here. But anyway, it shows that shockingly, youth unemployment remains as a persistent crisis in South Africa, with at least 4 in 10 people between the ages of 25 and 34 not in employment. So that is definitely a crisis situation. How do we respond to this? We have huge other challenges in the country, but I think this is the number one challenge. If we don't address this, I think we have an uprising on our hands. The youth are agitating or going to agitate for change.
Yeah, Julie, I think, if you think about the working age population, so, those aged 15 and above who are working and not in school, half of that population is young people. And so I think we often get stuck talking in the unemployment crisis, but we forget about the potential and the positive, right? We have to see these young people as an investment in the future of South Africa. If we don't invest in young people now, get them on a path to earning some kind of livelihood for themselves, we're really setting ourselves up for disaster as a country later. And we also, more importantly, and I think we must look at it from this side, we are missing out on the talent, the skills, the creativity that sits within this population if we don't support them to be able to thrive. And I think why we've fallen short of making any real dent in the youth unemployment numbers over the last decade, 15 years plus actually, is because we haven't acknowledged young people's experiences. And so, we at Youth Capital, as we said, we're youth-centered and evidence-based and solutions-driven. We spend a lot of time talking to young people to understand what it's like for them to try to go from places of learning to places of earning, and using those insights to really advocate to policymakers, other civil society organizations, and the private sector for holistic solutions. We think there's some silver bullet, magic cure for youth unemployment, and that's just not the case and is never going to be the case. We have to look at young people as whole beings on a journey and support them along that journey, whether we're talking basic education, post-school education, being equipped to have the knowledge and resources to look for work, place yourself at the right places, not just apply for everything, but being able to apply for the things that you actually are qualified to do, having a good CV, and then making short-term opportunities count, opportunities for learnerships, volunteer work, your side hustle, public employment programs, these existing kind of work opportunities that do exist. How do we make them really a stepping stone for young people into a thriving adulthood later on? And I think these are the questions we haven't spent enough time grappling with, and that's what we really try to do at Youth Capital.
Do you work closely with the National Youth Development Program? And if so, what are the plans going forward? You guys play a very huge role, and I'm kind of wondering, is it a question about waiting for the youth to, either finish their matric year? A lot of them are dropouts. They drop out for whatever reason, as early as maybe not even finishing their high school years, meaning that they're at a great disadvantage of finding meaningful employment. Do you guys go into the school setting and start engaging with them at that point? Because you need to get them to understand what's out there once you leave school. The opportunities are not great. You talk about side hustles as well, and what comes to mind is yesterday I was shopping in Rosebank, and it absolutely broke my heart when I saw, gosh, about 20 youth, probably sourcing these supplies from one supplier. It was boiled eggs filled in a bucket, and I think what looked like fried peanuts or something. But we were talking about youth, probably age 15, 16, and maybe even older, carrying these buckets around and trying to earn a living. And it broke my heart to see that, because I thought to myself, they have they have dreams, they have aspirations, they want to do better for themselves. Here they are in an upmarket area, seeing flashy cars, seeing people walking to designer shops, buying expensive clothing, and they're hustling, they're doing the side hustle with peanuts and boiled eggs. What is their future going to be like? Where and how do we improve that? Where and how do we target those young people and give them a reason and possibly hope for a better future?
Yeah, and I think you make the point, Julie. We have to meet young people where they are at, right? So young people, we speak about them as this group or this blob of people, but they're a really heterogeneous mixed group of people. You have graduates who can't find work, and then you have those young people you spoke about, 15, 16, having dropped out of school without even a matric. And so the interventions that are needed to get those different young people to a place of being able to earn a living is very different. And we really need to work together and partner together. You mentioned the National Youth Development Agency. And so I know that a lot of their work has been on supporting, young entrepreneurs. But there's the National Youth Policy, which they're in charge of kind of spearheading. And the point that's made very clearly in there is how desperate young people are for career guidance at school level. And to your point about engaging at the school level, we're funded by the DG Murray Trust, and there's our sister projects who work in school. We have the Zero Dropout Project, whose entire focus is on halving the rate of dropout in schools, and looking at what are the push and pull out factors for young people there. We also have Parent Power, Teachers Can, Public School Partnerships. These are our sister projects within the trust who work at the school level. And so what we try to model is this collaborative approach. We can't all be everything to everyone. And so we try to feed our information through into those organizations who are very present at school level. And then at a policy level, Youth Capital is always saying we need to improve career guidance at school level. We have life orientation. We have the subject that is supposed to be preparing young people for life, and it is not doing that. And so how do we look at that syllabus and make it, more useful to young people? And then to any young people or parents of youth on here today, our other sister project is called Job Starter. And they also have what they call a virtual career coach. So you can go online there. You can find out more about yourself, your interests, your passions, and you also get to make a CV out of that, a really professional looking CV. And so you can learn a bit more about yourself and what your options are given whether you finished school or didn't finish school, or what your interests are. So there are these tools that exist out there. And I think it's about getting the information into the hands of young people, and then having adults or caregivers within their space who can help hold their hand through the journey. It's great that we have these online platforms. There's also sayouth.mobi, which is the government platform. It's data free. So young people just need to put the ID numbers in there. It doesn't cost you any data. All of the government opportunities, learnerships, internships through the Youth Employment Service or the Education Assistant Program, all of those opportunities are advertised there, and we're calling on the private sector to advertise their opportunities on the platform as well. And so we encourage young people to sign up for that platform as well. So these tools are there, but young people can't navigate it on their own. Like I said, they need teachers, they need parents, they need caregivers to really stand with them. There's millions of young people, and so the rest of us also need to show up for them.
Okay, give us that website details again. Let's just put it out there and keep it on record for people who will call us thereafter. Can you just repeat that? And then I have one or two more things I need to throw at you.
No worries. So it's sayouth.mobi. That's the data-free platform. It's the government platform. And jobstarter.co.za. That's not data-free, but it's very, very light on data, and kind of takes young people through a journey to discover themselves and get their CV in order.
Okay, here comes the problem. A lot of these youth that are obviously doing a side hustle on the streets are not. They're not aware of all of this information at the fingertips. They may not even be able to afford the data, though you do say sayouth.mobi is data free, but still, they're not aware of all of this. So they just continue their hustle and sometimes, many a times, end up in street gangs, gangsterism, war, these turf wars in townships, etc., which we heard about just recently playing out in Westbury, and all of that is a reality. How do we further mitigate all of this? Because what I also pick up from you at Youth Capital and all the other youth support groups that we have around the country, it seems as if perhaps the focus is on unemployed graduates, maybe, or unemployed matriculants. So we do need to put our heads together and create a space for those street hustlers, those young people that are on the streets. They truly need a hand up.
Absolutely, and as I said, young people are not this black homogenous group, and I always kind of try to be the voice of reason. You mentioned unemployed graduates. Yes, we have unemployed graduates, but they are the minority of our problem. They're like in the minority. The biggest problem, as you say, are young people who don't have a matric. Like their options are extremely limited. You can't qualify for many learnerships. You struggle to get into a TVET. A lot of government programs for young unemployed people require you to have a matric. So it's really difficult for those
I'm
so
losing you there.
you
Okay,
had
your
a
line
campaigns where
is
we
very
tried to
bad.
put oh
Carry on, carry on.
sorry, we try to get this information into the hands of young people, and try to get it out there. Young people don't have data, but I know that they find a way to be on WhatsApp, they find a way to be on TikTok. So we really do try to put it out on online platforms. And then, radio, community radio is huge. And so we're always looking for partnerships there to speak into those platforms, because I think getting the information to these young people at the end of the day is absolutely key. And then another area of work that we've done a lot of work on, and it's also under a hub called the Second Chance Hub on sayouth.mobi, the free platform. We've worked with the government there. For those who have not completed their matric, you have a chance to redo your matric. It's a free option, given to you via the Department of Basic Education, and all the information for that and when the registration dates are also on sayouth.mobi under the Second Chance Hub. So for young people out there who haven't gotten their matric and would like to try, we can do that. And then we just have to put good role models into these areas. I'm in Cape Town. Gangsterism is a huge problem in the province, and a lot of the problem is that the only role models these young people have are successful gangsters in their community. And so how do we showcase stories of people they can relate to, who have made a success of their lives, that didn't take that route? And I think that's through communication tools like social media and radio.
And I think that marketing and advertising also plays a very, very big role in misdirecting our youth, because when you talk about gangsters, they drive flashy cars, wear flashy clothes and jewelry, branded clothing, etc. And then young people who are, come from very broken homes and live in these poorer communities on the streets, see these gangsters as their role models. And other young people that probably come out of regular homes, um, also have this idea, again, due to marketing, consumerism, advertising, etc. They want everything. They want a high, glitzy, glamorous lifestyle overnight. And sometimes I think they are their own worst enemies, are they not? Because they refuse to take low paying jobs. They refuse to take it, or they don't want to look at jobs which they believe is not glamorous enough. Not realizing that it's an opportunity missed, because every time you've spent a couple of months in a job situation, you've learned a skill, or you've learned something that goes onto your CV and holds you in very, very good stead. And that's the type of messages we need to get across to our youngsters. Even if it means you work in a supermarket and you pack shelves, that is a skill that you've learned and you'll take with you for the rest of your life.
I think it goes back to the career kind of pathway discussion with information. around
No. Kristal, sorry, you're
uh,
breaking up terribly there. I can't
ability.
hear you.
Oh, am I back?
Let's see,
Can you?
continue.
Um, young people hear about these opportunities and they jump. This is what employers complain about all the time. They'll jump from one opportunity to another, and employers will say we invest time and money in young people and they never stay in the job. And it's because they're just looking for a bigger paycheck. So a stipend or a learnership that pays more, they'll just jump ship because they don't understand how completing that thing sets them up for the next step, because nobody's really explained that to them. So I think that's key. And then I think from employers' side, we often say young people must just be thankful for a job and take any job they can. But when you look at transport costs, sometimes young people do the calculation and they're like, actually, for the amount of money I'm getting, no, it's not worth it for me to get up at 5 every day and queue for a taxi and go there, because my transport cost takes up 70% of my salary. So I think young people are also making those calculations in their heads and saying, well, like you said, maybe standing on the corner that's down the road from my house and I can walk there, and selling packets of chips there is a better thing for me. And they don't think about the longer career pathway. And so we need to think about that. The government, we need infrastructure, we need more affordable transport options, or some kind of transport stipend for young people that negates that that kind of calculation that they do and weighing up the real cost of the job. And this might shift some of that, because I think if you speak to young people, they'll say they'll take any job, but then when they're in it and they start doing these calculations, or childcare costs, they've got to leave their child somewhere, it just becomes not worth it for them at the end of the day. And so it's really complex, and we need to talk to young people and understand that complexity, so that we can tailor solutions that actually address the problem and get us somewhere in terms of a youth employment rate that's a lot more acceptable.
My final question to you, and let's keep it short and sharp because I do have my next guest standing by. In your release here, your press release, you talk about a specific point of concern is that young people have a much lower absorption rate. Is that then suggesting that employers would prefer to take older people on the job? What's that all about? And why are we not working on that issue around the absorption rate? Or does that kind of fit in with their maturity levels and their growth?
So that's new data that we've just discovered just a few days ago. And we are busy working with an economist to unpack, what is driving that number? Is it the sectors in which there's employment? Is it sectors that are requiring older people who are more skilled? Is it a case of young people just don't have the right qualifications for the sectors that are creating the jobs? Is it that, the jobs are all at mid-management level and young people just obviously don't have the experience to qualify for that? Is it that these older people are in the company already and so they have less likelihood of losing a job? We need to unpack that. It's a really interesting new finding that we found, and I don't think anybody has spoken about it before. So I encourage you to keep an eye on youthcapital.co.za for a full report about that, where we're going to unpack which sectors are creating the jobs, and why are those sectors creating jobs for older people and not young people at the same rate.
We certainly will keep our eye on that and have a future discussion with you. Thank you indeed, Kristal Duncan-Williams from Youth Capital. Go well and keep just giving hope to our young people. Let us have a future country of youth that are phenomenal. So please do what you guys are doing and just change lives in the process. Thank you. Go well.
Thanks, Julie. You too. Bye-bye.
9:38, standing by to talk to us is Ashraf Patel. Nice to have him on the show today, and he is a senior researcher at the Institute for Global Dialogue. We're going to be looking at the Nigerian election 2023 results. Have they been fair? And are there any surprises? What are those surprises? What do they look like? Is that going to equate to perhaps some uprising or some drama in the country? But do stay with us. In a minute or two, we'll be joined by Ashraf.